Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are. This is Kiki, and welcome to Cuppa with Kiki. Where is my coffee? Hoops. Cheers. Welcome to Cuppa with Kiki. How are you doing? How's it been? Who is in the Christmas mood already? Christmas. Oh gosh, I love Christmas. I love Christmas. It's that time of the year when I just let loose and enjoy the big baby in me. And you know what? It's just been a smooth and beautiful ride all along. Hey, hi, my lovely Cordelia. Hi, Hope. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. So this is Cuppa with Kiki. I do this every Thursday, just talk about parenting, share my journey in parenting to amazing and handful a whole school, a whole university, a whole nursery school, two sons that I've got, but they are amazing. I love them and I'll parent them over and over again. Awesome. So in my background, I've just stopped the music, but as I saying, who is already in the Christmas mood? I always have Premier Praise or Joy FM play on the background while I'm working. But in the past couple of days, my colleague sent me a link on YouTube to some Christmas jazz. So that's what's been jazzing at the background. It's just making me feel Christmassy every day. But hey, it's Christmas, the season. My son said it's not Christmas season until the 1st of December, but who says we can't celebrate Christmas all through the year? So it is a season to love, to enjoy, to have fun, to laugh. And if you're in the UK, to be cozy, it's cold, but it's enjoyable. Yes, thank you so much, Cordelia. Simply, you're tagging somebody. Yes, thank you. Anyways, thank you, everybody. Today, I'm going to make it very brief because I have a presentation at work at 12:30. So my lunch is actually half an hour today. But hey, what we want to talk about today is voice of influence. And one of the things we're talking about, I've been talking about in the past couple of weeks, is how to connect with your teenage sons, particularly for fathers. How do you establish the connection with your sons and maintain the connection with your sons? So last week we talked about communication, open communication and all of that. And today we're taking it a step further, talk about being the voice of influence. And why is it so important to talk about it? One, there are so many voices of influence out there. Social media, peers, church, school, everywhere. But we want to take the lead of all of those out there. And so instead of just saying being the voice of influence in your home, I've said being the positive voice of influence. So what does it mean to be a voice of influence? Now, the voice of influence, or who is the voice of influence in our lives? What does it mean? It means the voice of influence is the power, the guidance, the impact that somebody's words, action, beliefs, and presence have on others. It is also the ability to affect, persuade, inspire, and shape the thoughts of others. So I'm going to go with the second one more. So the voice of influence in our lives are those that have the ability to affect, persuade, inspire, and shape our thoughts, our behavior, or our decisions, right? And if you look at it very well, a lot of things out there are having the ability. We can't dictate those that have the ability to affect, persuade, and inspire or shape our children's life or thoughts, right? We can influence it, but maybe not 100% influence it. But we can influence, we can make a decision, we can be intentional, be deliberate about the kind of voice of influence or the kind of voice we are in our children's life. Is this prayer I always pray? And it's from the book of Proverbs, where the king's mother was saying, I call myself queen mother because I have boys who are kings, nations, right? So a queen mother was saying to her son, pay attention to my words. Hear my words, O Lemuel, hear my words, and that's it was the words of a mother that is actually the book of Proverbs. So one of the prayers I always pray is, God, let my words be relevant to my children. Let my actions be relevant. Let my actions and my words be a positive voice of influence, or be positive voices of influence in the lives of my children, and let them be relevant. So when I pray that prayer, I'm also thinking to be that positive voice, to be that positive action, to be that positive belief, to be that positive presence in the lives of our children. But then today we're also talking to fathers, we're talking about fathers, right? And I always say that whether we like it or not, whether we believe it or not, whether we take it or not, the voices of men, the men in our son's life, carry weight. And that's why I always encourage my husband in every way I can. Mind what you say to the boys. Say this. Have you thought about saying this to the boys? Have you thought about telling them? I'm always encouraging him to be that positive voice of influence in the lives of our sons. There was a time that there was an issue between him and one of the boys. They had, I think this was late last year. My husband said some things that he had to keep saying some other things over and over and over and over, the opposite over and over and over, so that what he said in error can be erased off his son's head. And he's still working on it till now, because I just said something. He said, "Oh, Daddy said this," and I'm like, no, Daddy didn't mean that. So I went to Dad and said, "Dad, this is what your son is saying." So we have to be intentional. We have to be very intentional, deliberate, and conscious of the kind of voices we want to be in the lives of our children. Because I, for one, I want to be that major voice. I want to be that major influence in the lives of my sons, such that when something happens out there, I know that I have sown that good seed in their lives, and that seed will continually speak, in their subconscious. There's something I used to say. I was a teenage girl, very young, and myself and my mom were having a conversation, and she was complaining about what one of my siblings did, or a decision, and I said, "Mom, you have raised us, you have taught us the way of God, right? Trust what you have done in us and see the seed grow. That irrespective of the mistakes we make, the word of God that you have sown in us, the seeds, the actions, the beliefs, the good words that you have sown in us would germinate, because I believe they're falling on good grounds. Here I am today, still growing, still work in progress. God is not done with me yet, but I remember that I said to my mom. And guess what? One of my boys actually said this to me, I think about 2 years ago, when they were going to go out, and I called. Every time they're going out, I'll say, "Be careful, remember the son of who you are, this and that, that and that." And when they said, "Mom, you need to trust the trainings you have given us. You need to relax and know that, you have taught us well, and the seeds you have sown is growing." I was like, okay, I remember saying that to my mom so many years ago. I said, "Okay, Lord, I repent and I trust, this that I've done, that you helped me do in the lives of my children." So I would always say that as a mom, like I said earlier on, and particularly to fathers of boys, you need to be intentional about being that positive voice of influence in the lives of your sons. You need to be intentional about being present, about your words, about your presence, your beliefs, your actions, because these are your sons. This matters to your sons, and your sons are watching it, and they are influencing your son's life one way or the other. Also, there are so many examples, so many things that we can think about when we're talking about voices of influence, right? We're thinking about media, we're thinking about their friends, we're thinking about our culture, we're thinking about our family, extended family. And there's one thing I always do. My boys are on Instagram, they watch this, but I'm very, very deliberate about my friends, about the people that are around me. And I always say that all my friends have boxes. I have various boxes that, all of my friends fit into. Some are in the box of prayer partners, some are in the box of business, some are in the box of ministry, some are in the box of sounding box. So, all of my friends, we have to be relevant to each other. And so, and another reason why I'm very deliberate about my friends is because they are also voices of influence in the lives of my children, just the way I am in the lives of their children. So we need to be very deliberate about the friends we bring to the home, about the people that we surround ourselves with, because these people are also shaping the lives of our children. Also, when we're being deliberate about this, we're also thinking now about how we are also, voices of influence in the lives of those other people. So there was a program that we used to do in Joshua's Army called the Family Breakfast Meeting. We used to do it the early year months of the year before February or so, that half term in February, where we come together as families, various families come together and brainstorm, do a lot of workshop. And I remember one of our family breakfast meeting, one of the ladies that came said, when she's praying, she's not only praying for her children, she's praying for her children's friends, her friends' children, as in everybody that surrounds her children. She said, you know what? Because you know why? Because her children or her son or her child is like a tree in the forest, right? And if you ever did agriculture, I used to work in DEFRA, Department for Environment and Rural Farming and Rural One-to-One. Now I've mixed that up. But there's a project I did in DEFRA that is called Tree Health. And the tree health the project is when a tree is infected, the government will give grants and then, help get the owners of the tree to cut down that tree. But when you are cutting down that tree, you're not just cutting down that tree that is infected. You're measuring you have a particular measurement to the front, back, left, right, that you have to measure and cut down, the trees around that tree, because there is every possibility that the infection or the disease on that one tree has affected the others around it. And that's why it is important for us to be mindful of the people around us and who we are to the people around us as well. So that, because when one is infected, those around it will catch the disease. My friend used to pray prayer. She would say that, Lord, I pray for anybody I pray for the people around me, as in praying for their peace, because she knows that if they are not at peace, there is every probability she would not be at peace as well. So she not only prays for her own peace, but she prays for the peace of those around her. No wonder the Bible says, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So praying for the people around the trees around your own tree, tending the trees around your own tree, nurturing the trees around your own tree, and being the positive voice of influence around your own tree is very, very important. Now, why should we be that positive voice of influence in our children's life? One, we're setting a good foundation for them. The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. Another verse says, so that when he's old, he would have peace. He would have peace, and how I will have peace. Laying the right foundation so that everybody is happy in the long run. And also, it helps our children have healthy mental health. Everywhere you turn these days, there's one mental health issue or the other, particularly since COVID. Oh, heaven help us. It helps our children develop healthy mental health. Also, security and safety for our children. They know that security, safety, and a place of vulnerability. They know that if anything happens, they will be able to come back to you. What gives me joy is when my sons come to me to talk about things. When my sons come to me, one of my boys, I was talking to him. Now, I hope tears will not drop off. But every time I remember this thing that I said, I looked at him and I said, "You're an amazing young man." I say this to them, individually. And my son, and as I say it, he said, "Mom, everything I am and everything I am becoming is shaped by your teachings and by who you are." I just stood still and I was almost crying. My mom would say something to us when we were growing up: live the kind of life that if you drop dead today and somebody catches you where you are, you will be proud of that place that they caught you in. And the same thing with the words you say. The words are coming out of your mouth and then you drop dead as they are coming out. Would you be proud to say that was the last thing I said? Or God, when you face God and God is saying, "Welcome, good and faithful servant," how would that word judge or portray you? Do you understand? So also, when we are the positive voice of influence in our children's life, we prevent the negative ones. Whether we like it or not, there are others that are fighting against those things in our children's life. And that's why we have to constantly be conscious, constantly say the right thing, constantly, even when we make mistakes and saying the wrong thing, look for opportunity to right the wrongs. Constantly. I say that it's okay to make mistakes sometimes, but it is never okay to deny your mistakes and cover them up, because our children, they see, they watch, they know this thing. So when you're trying to cover them up, they're looking at you and saying, "The joke is on you." And it's a you problem, not a me problem. So we need to be conscious of that. Also, it helps us to nurture healthy relationships, to train our children to have healthy relationships. Not just healthy relationships with us, but now we're talking about our boys, right? Healthy relationship with their wives, healthy relationship with their children. I want that. My goal is when my sons get married, their wives will come back to me, whether in the open or in secret, to say, "Kiki, thank you." That's, every day I sit down and I say, what can I change today that would so that my sons are healthy and wholesome men when they get married and become fathers. A lot of the times we blame fathers that we see today that they're not present, they're not doing this, they're not. Flashback to when they were growing up. How many of them were actually trained and raised? I said to women, you saw the man before you married him, right? Instead of looking for a way to raise him, because he's already raised. If you're trying to raise that man, you will break him. So instead of focusing on raising your husband, marry your husband and raise your son, so that somebody else will not struggle to raise your son as well. And that's my dream. That's my vision. Every day, that's what I wake up to do. God help me that I would raise men who are godly visionaries, who would be godly visionaries for their family, who will be godly leaders to their wives. There is a hierarchy in God in the kingdom. So there is no, I don't believe that men are not the leaders of the home. My belief is men are the leaders. So instead of saying men are not the leaders, I'm thinking of how do I raise my sons to be good, wholesome, and godly leaders, rather than fight their leadership. Also, say that being the positive voice of influence also means in the lives of your son, you are helping them YouTube stage. You're also helping them have healthy self-esteem. Now, how can you begin to be the positive voice of influence in the lives of your son? One, prayers. I said earlier on, that's my daily prayer. Lord, let my words be relevant to my sons. Help me to speak in wisdom and understanding. Just this morning, my older son came to me to seek my opinion on something, and I got it all wrong. After getting it all wrong, I came back to my studies and I said a word of prayer. I went to him and I said, when later on, please, when you're calm, let's talk about this. And then I came back to my study. I didn't go back to him. I sat and I prayed about it. Lord, help me to get it right. Help me to get it right. And then a few minutes before I started this, he came here and said, Mom, this is what I'll do. This is what I'll do. What do you think? And I said, that's a good idea. Well done. And I'm sorry about my response earlier on. So there are times we make mistakes, but it's our responsibility to right the wrongs. Also, I've said prayer, then establish open communication. I just gave an example. I got it wrong. I'm sorry, son. I'm a work in progress. And then when I was telling him that, he said, Mom, you have responded this way previously. And I said, okay, I can't remember, but is it okay if we talk about this later on? We still haven't had that conversation, but we will, because I want to learn, Also, respect the perspective. When we're talking about respecting our children's perspective, it also bothers down on listening to them. Earlier on, what he said was, he was trying to share his perspective with me, and I did not listen. I didn't think I did not listen, but if he thinks I did not listen, then I did not listen. So listening to them encourages open conversation, open communication, and then respecting. It helps us as well to understand their perspective and respect their perspective. I say if it matters to one, it matters to all. There is no perspective that is wrong. It's just us getting an understanding of various perspectives, getting an understanding of where they're coming from, sharing where we're coming from, and us reaching, a center point, meeting somewhere. Also, another way is support them without judgment. Support and educate them without judgment. Now, the thing I was talking about, I said earlier on that happened that my son, the misunderstanding. I've written down what I would say to him because it was a decision that, that I feel, oh, this is what you could have done. I would have, and I've written down what I would say. I wrote it down so that I don't make mistakes or I don't say anything out of point or say something that will trigger him or will hit the wrong button before I say the actual thing. So when he's calm, I want to talk about it. We'll talk about it and I'll share my own perspective after listening to his perspective, and then I'll educate him to say, this is the way you behave in the office. These are the things you say in the office. These are the things, because it has something to do with his office. Also, show affection. Oh God, show affection. Hug your children. There is an unwritten rule in my home. I will say this, that it's unwritten, but we just got into the wing of it that if we call each other, you have to say, or you end the call with, I love you, love you, something like that, Show affection. Tell your children you love them. Show them you love them. Hug them. Body contact, eye contact. By listening to them, show your children affection. I went for a program over the weekend and they said ways that we show affection. I don't have that paper again, but one of them is touch. One of them is eye contact. One of them is by smiling. One of them is by talking to each other in respectful ways. Show affection and then spend quality time together. A lot of things are like everything is going on here and there, but spend quality time together. And this Christmas season is one season that we can, plan to spend quality time with our children. What are you planning to do? Game nights, movie nights, chat nights, candle nights, dinner together, we don't always have dinner together anymore, just us, but my hubby and I. So that's one of the things I'm actually planning, because they won't have dinner. They go to the gym. So they, because of their fitness, the time they want to eat is different and all of that. But hey, once or twice this season won't hurt, will it? Or even if it is breakfast together on Saturdays when they both are home back from school, So dinner together, plan time together. And I want to use this opportunity to encourage fathers that are listening to me. And if you're a mother, I want to use this opportunity to say, please gift the dad and I dinner to your sons. We complain that he doesn't spend time with the children, but how are we supporting them to spend time with the children? I remember so many years ago when I started Dad and I dinner for fathers and sons. We were just about 4 families that were there, but the testimonies, oh my God, from that first one and then subsequent ones have just been mind-blowing and so encouraging that sometimes I feel, oh no, maybe I should stop. But the encouragement, I mean, the testimonies just keep flowing in. If that's all you can do to influence the relationship between your husband and the son, please do it. A good relationship is not, hey, good morning, dad, good morning, son, how are you? I'm fine. No, it doesn't end there. There has to be the talking, there has to be the connection, there has to be the phone together time. So I want to encourage you, parents, mom, dads, sign up for Dad and I dinner and let's host you to a beautiful time with your son. That will be it for today. My name is Kiki again, and thank you for joining me on Cuppa with Kiki. For those of you that joined me live, thank you so much. I do not take your time for granted. And for those of you that are watching the replay, love. Bye-bye. God bless you.